If you own a condo in Vancouver right now, you're probably not stuck. You're just being told that you are. There's a lot of noise out there right now. The headlines, they're screaming that the condo market is collapsing and the safest move for you is to just wait it out. The truth, though, is that while some people are indeed panicking, others are quietly making smart, strategic moves, and they're building equity and setting themselves up for success. Now, I get it. If you bought back in 2021 or 2022, back when the rates were super low and the market was red hot, well, right now, there's a very good chance that it feels like everything is upside down for you. The prices, they've softened, listings are piling up, and that plan to move up into something bigger, well, it just feels further away than ever. And you're not alone in that, okay? But here's what most people don't realize. This might be the best window that you've had if you know how to use it. And so in this video, I want to walk you through why prices are falling and how that can potentially work in your favor, why waiting to make your move might actually cost you more than doing it, and how to take advantage of today's slowdown, whether you're selling, you're upsizing, or you're just trying to figure out what your next move should be. Now, really quick, if you are new to this channel, my name is Glen Hopkins, and when I'm not creating videos like this, I'm out in the field helping clients just like you buy and sell real estate. So if you are thinking about making a move and you'd like some help, feel free to reach out. There is a link in the description box below. And by the way, if you think that the resale market is challenging right now, just wait, because pre-sales, those are collapsing. Buyers are walking away from contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that kind of disruption, well, it doesn't just stay in the pre-sale world. It spills over into everything. And it's already starting to ripple through the entire Vancouver condo market. So let's start off with what the real numbers are showing us. Condo sales in Metro Vancouver, they dropped roughly 37% from 2022 to mid-2025. And active listings, they are at their highest level in years. So in June 2025 alone, there were about 17,500 active listings, pushing the sales to active ratio up to around 12.8%, which is firmly in a buyer's market territory. Benchmark apartment prices, they are down 2.5% year over year. However, if you bought back in 2021 or 2022, you're going to feel that impact much more. So thousands, literally thousands of pre-sale buyers from back in 2021 and 2022, they are now unable to close on that property because the rates have risen so much. Back in that time, they purchased at around a 1.5% mortgage rate. And now, of course, their interest rate is 4.5% or over. And the rents that they might get for those properties, they won't even cover their mortgage. So it's fair to feel concerned, but that's only half the picture, because there's a part that most people miss, especially if you're planning to move up in this market. Now, I'll be honest, there was a moment not too long ago where I started to wonder if a certain couple that I was working with had actually waited too long. So in their situation, they had bought this condo a few years back, and it was right near the peak. At that time, of course, the rates were low, the demand was high, and at that time, it felt like a very smart move. Now, of course, you fast forward to today, and everything feels upside down. The prices, they've softened, mortgage payments are higher, and suddenly their plan to move up to something bigger, it's felt impossible. Have you ever felt like that? Like you've made this decision that made sense at the time, but now you're unsure of how to move forward. And they weren't just unsure, they were completely stuck. They were watching the market, they were reading all those headlines, and they were feeling like they had made the wrong move, and it could cost them literally everything. And so that's when I reminded them. And I also want to remind you here, it's not just the condo market or the condo itself that traps you. It's your belief that you have to wait for the perfect conditions before you make your next move. And so with that, we ran the numbers, right? We priced their condo correctly, and then we found a home that had dropped by more than $150,000. And after negotiating the price, they ended up buying it and gaining more on the purchase than they gave up on the sale. So you see, the truth is that it's not just the market that freezes people. It's the fear that does. All right, so let's talk about sellers for just a second, because a lot of people feel stuck right now, and I get it, right? Maybe your neighbor sold their condo for, $675,000 last year, and now you're hearing that yours is only going to go for around $600,000. That does not feel good. But here's the part that most people don't think about. If the place that you want to buy has also dropped, you could still come out ahead. So for example, if your condo dropped from $675,000 down to $600,000, that of course is a $75,000 drop. Like, ouch, that's super painful. And again, I get that. But say the home that you're moving up to last year was priced at $1.5 million and it's also dropped 10%. That's a $150,000 price cut on the buy side. So yes, you are losing $75,000 on your condo, but you're saving $150,000 on the house. So that's a net gain of $75,000. And that's the part that most sellers miss. You see, they're just focused. They're focused in on that $75,000 that they've lost, right? And they completely overlook the $150,000 that they are savings. So smart sellers, they don't just look at the sale price. They also look at the full picture and the spread between what they're selling and what it is that they're buying. And that's where the real opportunity is. Now, we also need to look at what's happening with the pre-sale condo market, because that is where the serious trouble is right now. So take a look at District Northwest project in Surrey, for example. Over 85% of the units in that complex were sold in advance before the construction even finished. But then the project ran into trouble and it got delayed so badly that the new estimated completion date was pushed out way into the 2030s. Can you imagine? So of course, this resulted in a lot of buyers deciding to walk away, which led to the whole deal falling apart. And then eventually the project went into receivership. How do you say that? It went into receivership, which basically just means that the developers, they ran out of money and they had to hand it over to the courts, right? So this is a real example, a very real example of what can happen when expectations change, right? And then buyers lose confidence. And it's not isolated either. Pre-sale approvals are collapsing across Metro Vancouver. So they're down approximately 50% compared to historical norms. Now, reports are indicating a 20 to 33% drop in pre-sales for 2025 compared to 2024. So that means that developers, they need to move units and they need to move them fast. So there's incentives, there's discounts, flexibility, they're all in play. And for savvy buyers, that is power. Still though, you might be thinking, why would I buy now when the market doesn't feel stable? So here's the thing, waiting for everything to feel safe, it usually means you're buying at the top. Now, in a hot market, prices climb fast. Competition, it's very fierce, and you've got to make quick decisions. And then you end up paying more, and of course, you lose your leverage. But in a slower market, that is when you have the upper hand. You can negotiate, you can take your time, and you can actually shop around and make a smart move. And that's the real opportunity here. So it's not about rushing, okay? It's about using a slower market to your advantage. Now, sellers, if you're thinking about selling, you need to be very smart about it. You want to make sure you price it for what the market is doing today, not what you wish you could have gotten years ago, right? So you want to look at places that are actually selling right now, not what the asking prices are, but what the sold prices are. And then you want to give your buyers a reason to pick your place over literally dozens of others just like it. So that could be things like maybe strata credit or flexible closing dates, good staging, or even including a parking spot. Now, right now also, first-time buyers are some of the most active in the market, especially now with the new GST rebate that the government has included as an incentive. So you want to think about what matters to those people. And if selling doesn't make sense for you right now, of course, you can consider renting it, maybe short term. But before you do so, please make sure that you're clear and you fully understand the tenancy law, because you can actually trap yourself. If you put a tenant in there, it can become very difficult to sell later on down the road. So just know what it is you're doing. And also, if you do go that route, don't wait until everyone else has the same idea, because if a flood of units hits the rental market all at once, rates could drop fast. Now back to buyers. If you've been holding off on buying, this is what you need to look for right now and what's working right now for buyers. You want to start off by looking at stale listings, okay? So pretty much anything that's been sitting on the market for over 45 days or more. Those sellers, they're typically more willing to negotiate. You're also going to want to pay attention to price reduction. So if a place has been dropped a couple of times the price, it's a good signal that the seller's getting motivated. And also, don't be shy either. You don't want to be shy to ask for everything. So flexible closing dates, maybe have the furniture included, etc., etc. Right now is the time that you can negotiate. And if you're considering pre-sales, you want to make sure that you check the completion timeline and also how many units are closing around that same time, because if there's too much supply all at once, it could crush your value. And most importantly, you want to think long-term when it comes to pre-sales. So this isn't about flipping, okay? It's about holding for at least 5 years and then building your real wealth over time. The truth is, even though Metro Vancouver has a huge supply right now, new project approvals and construction starts, they have dropped off sharply, and developers, they're really pulling back. So once the current wave of new builds is finished and absorbed into the market, we could be staring down a supply crunch come 2028. And that kind of shift, it tends to sneak up on people, which is why buyers who move now, while the market is slower, are often the ones in the best position when the cycle starts to swing back. Now, before you make a move, especially if you're thinking about upgrading, you just want to hit that pause button for just a second and make sure you watch this next video here, because in it, I'm going to share with you the types of homes that you should never buy in Vancouver, BC. So watch it now, because it could save you literally years of regrets and thousands of dollars in lost equity. And of course, if you'd like to talk about your specific situation, feel free to reach out. There is a link in the description box below. Otherwise, I will see you on the next video.